conversation about access modifiers and why they're important. And what I want to talk about is UML, or Unified Modeling Language. It allows us to create the description of what a class looks like. So to do that, we are going to use a little bit of PowerPoint, and you can use any tool, but the concept we want to create is we want to have the ability to create a three row box. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert a table, and I'm going to have one column and three rows. So I'll go ahead and click that. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit bigger if I can. There we go. And I'm going to make it just a little bit narrow here. So this is a UML box, and right now it's pretty empty. So we're going to take the Ninja one and convert it into UML, and then we're going to go the other way also. So in the top box, or top thing, we put our class name. So our class name for this one is Ninja. So that goes into that middle box here, and we're going to go ahead and put that in the center there. The next one is our attribute. So you'll notice up here we have two attributes. So we tell it the name of the attribute. So the first one is name, and we tell it what the data type is. And the data type for this one is a string. So I'll go ahead and give that a lowercase name because we want this to be as close to what it is as possible. The next one is an age, and that's an integer. And again, make that lowercase. So the name of the attribute goes first with a colon and then followed by the data type. So right now we have a string and an int. Those go in there. Now the access modifier goes at the beginning. So if it is a private attribute or method, we go ahead and put a minus sign in there. And if it's public, we're going to put a plus. But right now both of these are private. So if I read this, I would say we have a private string called name, a private int called age, which is exactly what shows up in terms of the attribute. So the top box are your attributes. These are not methods. Methods, remember, have those parentheses next to it. Below that, in the next box is where your methods go. So if we're going to follow the naming convention, the first thing is the access modifier. So it's a plus. We give it our name. So this one is display name. And right now, nothing's getting passed in. We haven't talked about methods and passing stuff in and out, so it's going to there. And then in colon and the return type. And we haven't talked about return types, but right now, these are both void return types, which means we can go ahead and put void for that one. And if I copy it, and the last one is give Ninja name. So we'll go ahead and change this to give Ninja name. And that also has a void. So I have two private attributes, string name and int age. I have two methods, display name and give Ninja name. The attributes are private, the methods are public, and the methods have return types of void. So we'll be getting into methods and talking a little bit about that, I think, in the next class or in a class very soon. So this is the UML now for that particular class. Let's go ahead and make our own here. So I'm going to make a new insert table. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing and make it a little fit here a little bit nicer. So we're going to make one and we're going to call it school. And go ahead and center that. Home, center, okay. And a school probably has a private name, and that's going to be a string. And it probably has a private address, and that might be a string also. And then it might have a enrollment. That might be an int. And then it might also have a private and we'll say average GPA. And that might be a double. Fix that piece there. Okay. And those are all private, which means I cannot access them from externally. And we might have a public one, and it might be display school. And it might not return anything, so it's going to be a void. And we might have another one, as we're going to say set up school, and it's also not going to return anything. We also could have a private method, and we could say details or whatever we wanted to, and that's also not going to return anything. So we can have public, actually, let's do this. Let's make our school name. Um, looks like we have sometimes uh, the tool here doesn't allow us to do some things that we want to do here. So let's make name public and make all the rest of these private so we can kind of see the difference between them here. So we have a public name, but we have private address, enrollment, and average GPA. We have public method called display school and set up school, and then a private details one. So that would be another UML, and we can now convert that over to a class. So we're going to go the other way here. So I'm going to go back to my project here. I'm going to go ahead and make a new class. We'll go ahead and call that one school because we're going to match the name of our UML, which is up at the top there. And go ahead and finish. So now we've got to take this and kind of build it together. So we should be able to follow the blueprint here and follow it. So we're going to make a public string name. That's exactly what it says inside of there. We're going to make a private string address. That's what the next one is. We're going to make a private int enrollment because that's what it says. And we're going to make a private double average GPA because that's what it says there. I got to fix my private here. So that takes care of our attributes for setting them up. Then we got a couple methods we got to create. The first one is a public void because no return type is what it says. Display school. And we're going to put some code inside of here. So we'll just do a system out. And we're going to say school. And then we're going to create another public. And that's going to be a void. And it's going to be set up school. And syso, control space. And we're going to say setting up. And those are both public. And then we have one more that's a private one here. So we can go ahead and say private void. And that one's going to be details. And we're going to do syso and say details, or some code's going to go inside of there. But for the most part, the goal we're trying to get to point is here is how do I take a UML laid out here and convert it over? So anything that's plus becomes public. So I've got public name, public display school, and public setup school, and private for address, enrollment, misspelled enrollment, average GPA, and private details. So that's how you go both directions, how you take a class and convert it over to a UML like we did for Ninja, and how you take a UML like school and convert it into a class file. Thank you very much.